Good evening, everybody.
Hey, everyone.
I don't know if it's shitty signal or what, man. I'm trying everything here.
All right, guys, what's going on? Rogue Nation here with you. Got B.A.N.G here with you. Got a special guest tonight, David Morrow. For those of you that watch the stories we put out, you know that he's been a subject of gang stalking, and he'd like to be here to tell you his story.
Thanks for being here, David. Thanks to everyone also who's watching.
I don't know
Hey,
what the deal
David.
is.
You want to just tell us your
If y'all
story,
can
bro?
hear me, that's fine. I mean,
Yeah, we could hear you, David. I'm not hearing anything now.
Me neither. Let's see who's in the chat while you get squared away.
Ronald Truitt, what's up, buddy? Save the Humans. Queensland Cop Watch, how's it going? Snap Phase, Google User, M-Star, AK Lady, Peanut. How's everyone doing tonight? HPR?
All right, Major Upheaval. Quit changing your name. That's Gunny Grunt. Gunny Grunt. Grunt Gunny is Major Upheaval now.
Oh,
Queensland Cop Watch, what's up? Hey, Perfect Sense. Thanks for being with us again. Hey, Save the Humans. M-Star Peanut. What's up? Ronald Truitt.
New Smyrna
All these
Times,
familiar faces and names. Snapface.
PDF,
Google user retracting messages again.
Piner in Florida, what's up?
Hey, Piner.
All right, David,
man, I don't know what the deal is here.
have you squared yourself away yet, David? I'm going to take that as a no.
I'm trying to get it to where I can hear and everything. Everything's just chopped up. I can't hear nothing.
Yeah, you might not have good service where you're at.
Nobody else is choppy, right?
I'm good.
No, I'm good.
Google user retracts his messages because he's being watched.
Hey, I want to read something that the inspector sent me to read. It's a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He who passively accepts evil is as much involved in it as he who helps to perpetrate it.
Damn it.
He who accepts evil without protesting against it is really cooperating with it. Inspector Cookie and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
David, it seems better now. Can you hear us?
Hey, New Smyrna Times.
I'm having issues, man. I don't know what the deal is.
We can hear you now, David.
I'm like right by the router.
Yeah, we can hear you now. Can you hear us?
What's up, Piner? Google user says leave him alone about it.
How's that?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, I can hear y'all now. It's all right.
All right, right
I
there.
don't know
That's
what the deal is. It's
You
like
got to get that sweet spot, is what it is.
that's what
it's
it
like
is. You're-
like they don't want me to make this video or something.
We can hear you okay. I can see the chop in the video, but we can hear you okay when you're talking and stuff.
Because every
So
time I try to do something, there's always a wrench put in it somewhere down the line.
Well, David, while we got you in the spot, go ahead and share your story.
Yeah, I can tell you my story. I don't know exactly where to begin other than like March of 2019 last year. Basically what happened was I made a National Geographic video back in 2012, and it was exposing government corruption and everything, and that's basically what I rang out of people that I come in contact with. And my brother's ex-old lady told me the reason why all this is happening to me was because of that video, and it's went on from there. I lost one of my good jobs. They tapped into my emails. My phone got cloned, which I had to call Samsung and have them confirm that. Um, it went on from that, and then it just there was people in my life that I've known forever that just started acting shady and everything, and they just completely walked away from me, or like my brother just completely sabotaged everything. And it all started in Ohio. It never started in Arkansas. And now where I'm at, everything stopped since this coronavirus has happened. But I still got a lot of legal issues that are going on in my life because of all this stuff, and none of it makes sense. Like, it's been gang stalked, stalking. They've been chased and hunted all over the place for no reason, and it's like people, the normal looking people, are involved in it. So after like a couple chases that I actually documented and everything, I got chased into Huron County, which I've never been to, and out in the wooded area after all these people were chasing me around in vehicles and having their bright lights on, which I noticed is really strange. Like brand new looking SUV vehicles, nothing like people think in the movies like government vehicles or anything like that. It's just normal looking SUVs like Dodge Journeys and stuff like that, of the same color, like gray and white, black, stuff like that. Follow me out to some wooded area out in the middle of nowhere, and I ended up having to leave my vehicle where I was at because I was about to run out of gas into a wooded area. I ended up staying out in the woods there, and the next day, I'm out there trying to get back to my vehicle because I couldn't find my way. Like I said, I'm not from there, and I end up going in the middle of somebody's marijuana patch. Like they chased me into this shit. Like they actually knew where to put me. And then I had a whole team of people that lived around that place shooting at me for 6 hours straight. I ended up jumping in a creek, losing my clothes because I had to take them off because I was making too much noise squeaking around the woods. Because I grew up in Arkansas, I'm a survivalist and everything. I knew what to do. And after they had their fun shooting at me and everything, they got me out in the middle of this field with their guns drawn at me, and basically was laughing and stuff and telling me like, you know, there's a cabin out here, and if you want to go in there and get your bearings and everything, the basement door's unlocked. Go in there and chill out, and then get the hell out of our town. So I did. It was right where they said it was, and everything was there. Well, when I went inside this house, there was nobody there. It's out in the middle of the sticks. The water wasn't on, and I'm going through some drawers in the basement, and there's like charcoal filters and steel Brillo pads in bags. And I stay there for a little bit, and I found like a milk jug. So I went to this creek and started filtering water out to drink because I was thirsty, dehydrated from running and being shot at. And the next day after that, a water department guy come out there and turned the water on. Said, "Hey, I knew you was here, so here you go." So a little bit after that, this old hippie looking guy that was the caretaker of this cabin place for sale showed up, and I'm all cut up from being running through briars and all kinds of shit. And the dude's like, "What are you doing in this house?" and this and that. And I didn't know what to say or what to do. I'm out here, and I basically told him, "Look, man, this place was abandoned. Some people told me to come out here and chill and all this." And I said, "I'm on my way." Well, the story he said in the courtroom at the hearing is that he heard a noise. It sounded like somebody else was out there behind the house or something, and he called the sheriff's department. So they pick me up and they take me. The cops show up before they took me off, and I was all cut up and everything, and I didn't have no shoes on, and I was basically in my boxers, and I'm all scarred up and everything, and they call the EMS, and they take me to this hospital in Huron County. Well, while I'm there, they're asking me all these questions about everything, about what are you doing out here, where's your vehicle, and I just play dumb because I'm like, I've been through a few chases, and this was the maximum chase, I guess. And I didn't know what to say, who to believe, and I just kept my mouth shut about it. I told them I'm from out west, all this and that. I don't know, I don't remember who I am, what my name is, and all this. So they leave me in this hospital for about a week and a half. I call my sister, try to get a hold of her, and then my family pretty much said, we're done with you. You're 40 years old. You need to stop what you're doing. We're all done with you. And here's what I don't get, and here's what I tell everybody else. I'm 40 fucking years old. I got it going on, and I just decide out of the blue to go on a crime spree. Okay, I'm making 60 something $1,000 a year, and all of a sudden I just stop what I'm doing and to go on a huge ass crime spree, breaking into shit. It doesn't make any sense. And on top of that, the place is abandoned. On top of that, and I'm in a town where I don't know nobody where I'm at or anything or what's going on. And they impounded my vehicle. So I call a friend of mine that lives in Mansfield, which is about an hour away, because I didn't know where I was on the map. And he comes and gets me. And we go get my truck out of impound the next day. And according to the court papers that I have in the discovery, it says that they were supposed to hold me. As soon as I got out of ICU, they're supposed to come and get me and scoop me up. Well, they let me go. And I called them and they let me get my truck out of impound. Well, after that, this girl I was messing with, which was really bizarre, she got spooked in the first bit of the chase, and I ain't heard from her since until that next day. She just contacted me out of the blue and says, "Come up here to Orwell and haul some Amish people around. We'll make some money and stuff like that." So I did what I was going to do, and I went up that way. I trusted her a little bit, and I get up to this town out in the middle of nowhere in Ohio with Amish country. And she leaves me at this guy's house that's a world-renowned hunter, like he's in magazines and stuff, a taxidermist, a really weird dude, which I didn't discover he was on drugs till like a couple weeks later. And he was into Bitcoin, the dark web, and all kinds of other weird shit. And I was doing Amish runs. They'd leave me in his house. And I'm starting to notice things about this guy. It is really, really, really bizarre. And once I figured out, like after a couple runs doing stuff for him and taking these Amish people around that are really, really shady people that he was only messing with, I went to this like softball game or something for all these Amish people. And mind you, this is like the fourth largest Amish community in the world. Big one. And I go to hauling these people around the softball game, and the whole day I'm working off a debt from this guy. Well, they got real shitty with me towards the end of the day when I was going to collect my money from them. And basically, dude was telling me that I'm working off a debt for this guy. So I'm running around doing all this stuff for free, and I'm still hanging out. I didn't have really nowhere to go because my life's completely ruined by that point. You know, they've done destroyed me up to that, and uh, we're going out on a boat. He was getting this boat from a Amish guy, which this fella, I ain't gonna say his name. I'm gonna call him Jim. He he owns a couple boats himself, so he goes out in Lake Erie, and he's like, we're gonna go fishing on Labor Day. So I got a new phone and everything. The phone I sent off to y'all, and on this phone, he asked to use it for a little bit, right? So he's on my phone messing with it, and you got the predictive text on. I'm a little bit more tech savvy than he is, and I start noticing all these messages like the day before we go out on this boat, talking about wrapping me up in a curtain, chopping my truck up to pieces, getting rid of me because I'm a cash register and all this other shit. They really hate to see me go, so I'm paying attention to all this stuff, and we go out on this boat, and the day before we go, he goes to this Amish guy's house, which I wasn't allowed to go to. And this boat didn't have no radio. It didn't have no GPS. It didn't have nothing on it. And it ain't been used in a minute. I'm like, why the hell ain't we taking this guy's boat? I mean, why are we taking this guy's boat when this dude's got two more other boats? And I had a fillet knife in my tackle bag. And I put it in the very top. Well, as we was leaving, he grabs my knife out and puts it in a drawer in his house. So I'm like, what the hell, man? I go back in the house, grab the knife out. I put it in my bag without them knowing about it. And they're like trying to hurry me up and rush me up into the boat. So I'm armed. And I noticed on the way out, dude's got a pistol in the back of his bag. And he was telling me before, I remember seeing that pistol is a throwaway gun. I'm like, why the hell's he got a gun on a boat? So I'm like, okay, after everything I've been through, I'm like, all right, this is starting to make sense. So I hid that knife in that tackle bag. So we go out there, and he brings this other big dude with him, and so we're out on the middle of Lake Erie, and we're supposed to be fishing, which we get out there and we're like blind fishing, no life jackets. I'm starting to notice all this shit, and I started asking questions. I'm like, hey man, how come there ain't no GPS on this boat? How come there ain't uh any kind of navigational stuff on here? The radio don't work. And he's like, you ask a lot of questions, you know that? And he's like, you're just gonna be a statistic out here. So we're out here in the middle of all this shit, and he starts talking all this crazy shit, and he produces his gun. And then at that time, I pull the knife out and get up to the guy that's running the boat and told him to drop that pistol in the bucket underneath the hole there. And next thing I know, the dude comes out, and I kept telling him, I'm like, you're gonna have to chill out, man. I said, if you don't get this boat to land, I'm gonna stick this dude right here. I said, I'm not playing around. I've been through a lot of shit I've done told you about. And I said, you guys are acting weird. I said, you're talking crazy shit, talking about killing me and stuff. And then they're like, you ain't gonna do nothing about it. You're out here, nobody's gonna hear you scream and all this other shit. So I called 911, and that's when I get a hold of Ashtabula. And that went on for like an hour, maybe hour and a half, while these guys are trying to fiddle around the boat, move shit around on me. And I'm trying to hold this dude at bay, trying to get this boat to where we're going on land. And he kept trying to run it in the rocks. And next thing I know, the Coast Guard comes screaming up. And they turn around and leave. What the fuck is going on here? And I kept calling them back, and I'm like, what's going on? I said, the Coast Guard keeps getting called off of us. I was like, why is this happening? I was like, there's a situation on this boat. People are acting crazy. I played it off like people were drunk on the boat, like we were having problems, like some people we had on the boat were getting crazy and drunk. And I was trying to play it cool because I didn't want nothing to happen to my family or my friends or me at the time. So after they quit fiddling around, the guy starts crying and shit. And then I set it down, and I'm like, well, it didn't work out the way you wanted it to, huh? And all this and that. And I just kept on messing with him. And I'm like, look, dude, just get this boat to land, and we'll forget about everything. I'll keep my mouth shut. Just let me off this fucking boat, man, please. And he's like, you're never going to make it. You're never going to make it, and all this and that. And that Coast Guard here, they come screaming up again, and they turn around. And we finally get to land, and I jump out and I start snapping pictures of the front of the boat. I got the number and everything off of it. Well, we're in the middle of this park, and all these people start acting weird as fuck. Like they were all in slow motion. It looked like it was just weird. I've never seen nothing like it. And I'd walk up to them, and these dudes done skated out in the vehicle, and they loaded their boat up and everything. And I started asking people like, "What time is it?" You know, just walking up to them and acting weird with them, and they just their expressions like they're aliens or something. I don't know how to explain it. Well, finally, the city police show up, and right before that, the Coast Guard was like sitting out in the middle of the water with their binoculars checking me out on land with their lights on and on the orange boat and everything that they have. And I'm asking 911, what the fuck are they waiting on? Like, are they really, really going to just sit there? And they're like, well, nobody's in the water, so we can't do nothing about it. So I jump in the water and I get out, and here they come. And I'm like, all right, cool. The government's coming. You know what I mean? Because I done requested the state police to show up instead of whoever they had coming, which was the city of Ashtabula. And once they show up, right when they showed up, I put the knife down on the table. The cops approached me, and I told them, I said, I'm David Morrow. I said, I'm the one that was on the boat, made the 911 call. I'm armed with a fillet knife. That's it. That's all I got on me. So I laid it on the table, and they cuffed me up. Well, the Coast Guard comes jumping up, and then they're armed with submachine guns and shotguns, and they're trying to get to me, and the Ashtabula guys like completely prevent them from talking to me. They put me in the back of the car, so I couldn't really make out the conversation that they were having, and it went on from there. So I'm sitting in the back of this cop car going, what the hell's going on here, man? And the lady cop looking at me, she's like, you know, who's them guys in a white truck? You know, I know what's going on. They need help. Are you going to tell me about all this stuff? And I'm like, I ain't got nothing to say. I don't know who you're talking about. I'm trying to play it off and shit. Because I done told them, man. I'm like, I ain't going to say nothing. I ain't going to speak on it. Just let me go. So she gets all pissed off, and we driving back to the station. And then they take me to this shitty, rundown looking, looks like a garage or something. I ain't never seen nothing like it. We go inside, and there's like one little computer and like an old school fingerprinting thing, which now everything's digital, and there ain't nobody around. There ain't no staff. There ain't nobody. It's just me and two other cops. And they started asking me all these fucked up questions like, what were you doing out there? Who are these people? I'm like, I don't know. I didn't mention no people, period, besides what was on 911. And I was like, just people got out of control and all this and that. And once they figured out I had a warrant out of Huron County, which I didn't even know I had a warrant for my arrest, I'm like, cool. let's do this. I don't know why I'm being held. I don't know what I've done. And the lady fingerprinted me on one hand, and I'm like, wait a minute, you got to do the other hand too. And she's like, well, they'll do that when they autopsy your body and all this shit. So right then, I just shut off because reality does not match what the fuck's going on here. And I waited there in a holding cell for like 2 days with nobody around. They turned all the lights off and everything in this whole building. They were feeding me like raisins and fucking juice and stuff. And nobody's been in this holding cell for ever, it seems like. I seen a milk carton that said like 2015 on it. So that don't make any sense to me. So then Huron County shows up, and this little chief of police, I guess alleged guy, talks to the guy that picked me up for transport, and he's telling him, get this son of a bitch out of our town as fast as you can. And the dude's dripping sweat. Like, it's making him nervous, me being there. So I get held in Huron County for 4 months. Once I get in there, I'm telling people, like, I need to speak to the FBI. I need my contacts off my phone. They would not let me have my cell phone to get none of my numbers on for over a month. And then once I got served the paperwork that I got served, almost 3.5, 4 months later, the sergeant comes and says that federal investigators are looking at your stuff, and our local investigators are looking at you. I'm like, okay, do I need to hire another attorney or what? A federal attorney? What have I done? When she wouldn't talk to me, she's acting all weird, you know. And I was like, why did y'all take my paperwork? Why did you take my lawyer papers? They wouldn't give me no explanation for anything. And they held all my paperwork for like a week and a half or something, and they were making copies of it. And then when I got a hold of my cell phone, when I went up front to get my numbers and stuff, like my phone has been on and they've been digging through my shit because it was like on a 60% charge when I turned it off. And then when I get it, it's on zero. It was like they had to charge my phone up. So they were definitely in my phone without a warrant. They took all my lawyer's papers without a warrant. And it was just one big shit show. And on that kiosk inside that jail facility, I was nonstop typing like I need to speak to somebody. I need to speak to federal investigators. I need to speak to somebody that can help me with what's going on. And I asked to speak to administrator, and he was acting all weird. His name's Chris something or other. And he's like, "Well, why do you need to talk to the feds?" I'm like, "It's between me and the federal government. I don't need to talk to you." And he's like, "Well, I need a little bit of information on what's going on with you, so we can see what's going on." So I gave him a little bit, and then like a day or two later, he's telling me he don't want to get involved with whatever I got going on, and they don't want to be held accountable for it. And I'm like, "Well, you guys are accessory to all this. Then you're holding me, and you know there's another crime going on. It's related to what you're holding me on, and you're not helping me." And I never got no answers out of that. They ended up letting me out of there on house arrest, which I went back to the town I was at, and these people I was with were involved with the guy that was on the boat. And when I was in jail, they took all my shit and my vehicle and everything and brought it to their house. So the next thing I know, I'm like, I can't go nowhere. I'm stuck out in the middle of the sticks. There's no way I can get a hold of anybody. There's no way I can make money or anything. And I had court dates to attend to with this ankle monitor strapped to my leg. Well, I ended up having to call the ambulance twice on each court date because I couldn't make it there. Nobody would take me. Nobody would help me. It was like it was all set up. And once I got a hold of the the lawyer's office there in Huron County is telling them what's going on, they're telling me it's all good because I had to go to the hospital a couple times. I actually had to go to a mental ward to get out of going to jail again and having a warrant. I mean, it was degrading to do that, but I had to do that. And next thing I know, they released me on a medical off the ankle monitor program and wanting their stuff back. So I'm stuck up in Ohio with this thing strapped to my leg when it's off, which I've never had this ever heard of happening. And I'm like, what do I do? So I ended up bolting back to Arkansas to hide for a minute. And then I got a hold of Rogue Nation and Bolt Action to see if they could help me out, which they did. And I was going to go to a field office in Arkansas to see if that could help. And I was advised not to do that because we don't know who's involved. So I had some friends that are down south that were pretty tech savvy. And we looked up this old ass ankle monitor that's on my leg from 1995. And it showed the schematics and everything, how to take it apart because these people wanted their shit back. So they took it off. They didn't cut it off. They took it off since I was discharged from the program, like they said, which I have documentation on that I sent out. And I sent it, I mailed it back to them and never heard not a damn thing about it. And then when I was in Arkansas, I got fucked with so hard. All these people were calling me and texting me all this crazy shit, telling me I'm going to die and my family's going to get killed. I don't know what I'm doing. So I jump on a bus and head back to Ohio. So here I am again. And then I end up leaving where I was at, and I ended up getting a place about an hour and a half, 2 hours away from there. And I've been working here and there and trying to maintain coolness. And they still know where I'm at. Nobody's tried to come and get me. And then I got people online still screwing with me. And everybody in my life has completely walked away from me because they basically told me they don't want to be involved with whatever I got going on, including my own mother. And I've had people that I've known for 30 years in my life that's helped me out and knows I'm not fucked up and crazy or on drugs or anything like that can contest to this stuff. And they've helped me along the way. And if it wasn't for uh, people at Bolt Action and Rogue Nation, I would have probably blown my head off by now. Because this shit's real, and it's not just happening to me, it's happening to a lot of people around the country and around the world. But mine is one of the most severe cases I've ever seen. And I definitely need some help. The best way to crack this open is to go to Huron County and stick a camera in their face and do an audit. And the same thing in Ashtabula County is to do an audit in there and get that 911 tape from them and definitely demand some answers because I can't do it myself. And then shine the light on that because they know I'm not guilty of anything. I know I'm not guilty of anything. Everybody that knows me knows I'm not guilty of anything. And they know all this shit is all part of a CIA program that the government uses to discredit and use psychological warfare on people in a social experiment to see if you'll kill yourself or what they can do with you to do this new world order horse shit that they're wanting to bring in. And I'm not with that. I've always had a political mind, political voice. I'm a smart person. I went to college and I don't deserve this shit. I'm an American citizen. I'm a taxpayer. I didn't sign up to be a fucking lab rat, man. And I'm done with this. I got a family up here and I can't live like this. And the people I'm with, they know I'm not nuts and they know this shit's true. Hell, even my fiance had a dose of this stuff and had people calling, harassing her, telling them not to help me and all this stuff. And she's not messed up about it. You know, I just don't want nothing to happen to my kids. I don't want nothing to happen to none of them. I could give a shit less about me, but I definitely want to get this story out, and I want people to understand what's going on. And this stuff's really real, and it really does happen. I mean, there's other portions about the story. I could go on forever about it, a whole year of this shit. But the main points of it all is what I told you. And it's very, very real. And everything that I sent to you, it can be explained. I mean, if you call me up, I can tell you step by step what this bit of information is and this and this and that. And like the messages I sent, the screenshots and everything. I mean, I even gave you guys access to my Facebook accounts and everything else. But if you can get somebody in to hack into my Gmail account, my older Gmail account, I've got concrete evidence of girls talking about murdering me, dumping my bodies and shit while I was recording them. And then they somehow got into my stuff and erased it all. Or kept me from getting into my old Gmail accounts. And luckily I got into my old Facebook account where some of the messages are still on there. And that, I mean, that's about the cherry on top of everything I can say. But definitely Huron County and Ashtabula County, they are definitely the whole community in Huron is definitely involved in this stuff. And they can't deny that. They can't. It's absolutely true.
Okay, hang on for a second there, David. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, hang on for a second. Mr. Cooper said he wants to know what kind of boat Amish guy had, and I wanted to let some of the people in chat know. I've been watching, what they're saying about the story, and naturally, of course, when this kind of activity happens, they try to make it seem as haphazard as possible for the story to be less likely to believe. And when something like this hasn't happened to somebody, a lot of times, it is hard to believe. But I want to
Right.
let the subscribers know that you have sent me a big package of documentation on this: notes, times, places, phone numbers, addresses. You did send me your phone. David sent me his phone with access to all his accounts, like he said, his Facebook account and stuff. I haven't had a chance to go through a lot of the stuff yet, but I will, and I will be doing a follow-up story to this that will be on B.A.N.G. And again, for us that hasn't experienced, when as a human, when we haven't experienced something, we have what's considered or called normalcy bias, which basically is us telling ourselves that if something hasn't happened, it'll never happen, or that if something does happen, it won't be that bad. And we saw examples of that in Katrina in New Orleans, where people thought that they weren't going to get hit by the hurricane, and if it did, it wouldn't be that bad. So what happens is if we haven't experienced gang stalking, if we haven't experienced the level and dedication that a group would go to in order to, like you said, take everything from a person to discredit that person, even to kill that person. A lot of mystery is surrounded with like the Bill Cooper death, and deaths of other activists and other people that were um, exposing the government. I believe one gentleman was making a film. His whole family was killed, mysteriously by a home invader or whatever. But it's always under, suspect circumstances when people are getting, maybe a little bit too close to some kind of truth. Now, um, part of the story, and I don't think I remember you going into this, but um, on some of the notes that you've given me, and I've got a couple of the notes to bring up. So, Eyes, if you can bring them up, so we could take a look at them real quick.
I got you. Give me 1 second.
I noticed on one of the notes it had a notation about picking up girls at a certain time and then dropping them off at a certain time. Is there some kind of aspect of this that has to do with prostitution or trafficking?
That's human trafficking. That's human trafficking because the Amish people are involved with that. That is to me to go pick up these girls and drop them off, and then at some Russian or Ukrainian's house, almost damn near to Cleveland, and like it's insane. I still had a lot of that. Um, I don't remember exactly
Not
where
that one, Eyes.
this place was at, but they wanted me to like get my hands dirty. Basically, I didn't know what was going on until I picked these girls back up, and they smell like sex, man. You know what I mean? And the person that was with me acknowledged that.
Okay,
That
hang
right
on
there,
one.
what you're looking, what I'm looking.
Yeah, go ahead. Tell us what that is. Can you see that, David?
Yeah, I can see that.
Can you tell us
That's the
about
background
that?
check. That's not even like the middle part of that with that BS something number like that. That's my FBI number. I mean, this is from a long time ago. Back in Arkansas when I was like 18 years old, I fucked up. Okay. Well, that guy did a background check on me before I started working with him, running people around. Okay. Well, you can't just get somebody's FBI number on a regular background check. That has to come from law enforcement. I know this. So that I snatched that off his table and made them notes on that because that was really odd to me. I'm like, I know that number. You can't get that as a citizen, a private citizen, unless you're in law enforcement or from law enforcement themselves.
Right, and then
So that told me a lot.
right underneath that background check, which you said's in David's writing, or excuse me, the other gentleman's writing, it states that you pick up a couple of girls at 6:30 at such and such, and you pick them, drop them off and pick them back up at such and such a time.
Right. I dropped these people off at some rich people's houses, like $1 million, $6 million, $7 million houses in Cleveland suburbs. Like they're dropping them off to clean houses, they call it, but they're all into sex trafficking shit. And he told me that himself. I mean, if you put this guy on the stand, he ain't gonna lie about that. He said the Amish are mafia. He said it's a big mafia organization. So they put me in a blender with all these people to either get my hands dirty or to get it to where, like I said, I was paying off a debt, which one of the Amish guys told me about that. He goes, I'm working for him for free pretty much. The dude owed me thousands of dollars for doing all these runs, and I'm paying off this guy's debt, and I didn't get shit for that. But all them other numbers and everything and all them names and addresses come about afterwards. That was like a couple days before I went on the boat with them guys. And after I seen the the predictive text on my phone that was brand new at the time, that the one I mailed, and it was on there. And I even got it on some of the videos I loaded up on my own page, like what they were talking about, because the guy made me like rip his cellar door open when I was working for him doing odd jobs and stuff, so that these people could creep up the steps and put a bullet in me when I'm sleeping and wrap me up in a shower curtain and then chop up my truck and sell it and shit. And I caught on to that. That's when I got chased from Orwell to Detroit, and I got that video live on my own page, man, on my own YouTube page on I-90. When like all these different vehicles were chasing me, trying to run me off the fucking road when I'm doing 120, trying to get to where I'm going, and I'm blowing by state troopers and they ain't even hitting their lights on me, man. So that told me a lot right there. And that was like chase number 4. And it all heats up like when all these situations get to the most gravitational part of it, where they've either had enough of me or they want to end it. Well, they failed those 4 times, and then they put all these people trying to put hits out on me and stuff. Like they're really amateur about it because I'm still alive apparently. There's people who know this stuff, like actually absolutely know it's true. Like they can tell you it's true. That I by the grace of God, I've skated out of this stuff. I've used my head so many times that I knew what to do, like instincts telling me what to do and being guided to do. I wouldn't be sitting here telling you the story right now if that wasn't true. I'm a firm believer in God. And without that help, I would have been toast a long time ago.
All right, hang on for a second, David. Fawn, as she said, you should be seeking legal representation, not you guys, and giving you all potential evidence. And I think that Fawn has misheard the fact that you tried to go to law enforcement many times, FBI, Astabula.
Yep.
We've got those calls. We've got the audio up. And Peanut, she says she's completely lost. But Peanut, I did like a video or two before this on Mr. Morrow's story that has some information there. It's got him making the calls to these agencies like the FBI. And, like I said, he's got a lot of documentation here. It would, I think, at least behoove the, law enforcement community that he contacted to at least check out the story. I mean, here we're talking about, trafficking, trafficking, possible, ties to, city and other people officials. And listen, this isn't unheard of activity. I just did a story, guys, about drug activity in Taylor County, and that, this is information that we've received from, good places, people high up that you would, in the area, and telling us that other public officials are involved in drug trade and such of that nature. There was a whole city police department down in Miami that was busted for laundering drug money. So somebody stumbles across this kind of activity like Mr. Morrow did with the trafficking and again with his National Geographic, expose there on the government. He becomes a person of interest that people would want to discredit. When people start getting maybe too close to what reality is, because we all know that what we see on the nightly news and in the televised news conferences is reality. I mean, none of that's really reality. It's reality, type TV show, just like The Bachelor or one of those type shows. It's all staged. So
It's real, man. Like I've seen a lot of movies and stuff, and I've never seen anything that come close to what I've been through. And then once everything started happening to me, I started researching it, like the signs of everything, and then it is other people are having the same shit. So this ain't mass hysteria that we're all having, but mine is the worst case of us all. And I'm like, why me? And then once I heard that it was because of the National Geographic piece that I was on, exposing government corruption and government cover-ups, and I actually got threatened by a government agent in the middle of processing in this back in 2012, I never took that to heart. You know, he's like, keep the government out of your mouth when you're filming this stuff. Even the producer was telling me this stuff. You know, you gotta tone it down a little bit. You know, I'm saying I got free speech. I seen what I seen. It's on YouTube. My original one's on my old YouTube page that I can't access to because of this gang stalking asshole stuff. Because they shut me down. So I have no access to get into that stuff or change anything or load anything or do anything. So now that I understand why all this has happened to me, it makes sense. Because if you expose them, if you're a whistleblower, they're gonna take you out no matter what it is that you've done. They don't give a shit if you got a family. They don't care how much money you got. You know, and they're gonna throw you on that terrorist watch list. They're gonna turn you into the fusion centers like they did me, and then your life's gonna be run amok through hell. And you're gonna be discredited, or people gonna call you crazy, and everything else is gonna go to shit. That's how it is, and that's what happened. But I'm still here, and I'm still breathing, and I can still stand up and say what the hell went on, and it's all true. And then we got these breadcrumbs that lead to this stuff, that it's going to be a stack of dominoes once they get exposed, because all it's going to take is to go forward and reverse. When you go to Huron County, when you go to Ashtabula County, you start with them. That's going to be the nutcracker that's going to bust this wide open. Them 911 tapes that they will not release to me, or they have not sent one investigator, one detective, as they even called me back on this stuff. Not one federal authority has called me back on this stuff. I've called the ACLU, everybody I can think of. Nobody has done nothing. And I guarantee you, if other people wave a camera in their face or demand to know what's going on, they're gonna get squirmy and wormy, and somebody's gonna, because I got some people to crack just by getting a little bit violent with them, because I had them getting destroyed. That's what I had to do, because I had no more options left to get the answers that I needed to get. And that's what I feel a few TIs need to do out there. I told them, advise. I said, if you're sick of this and you know where it's coming from, you're going to have to get a little bit viral on some people, because that's the only way you're going to make this stuff slow down to a crawling pace or do something. Because once they know you ain't playing no more, they're going to slow down a little bit on you. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah. All right. Some people had some questions in the chat, but Fawn says, "What were you allegedly charged for?" And I'm guessing she's talking about when you had the 4 months there in Huron County.
What was it? Yeah, I still have a case pending still, but done anything about it. I don't know what to do, because I'm not going to allow myself to go through all this stuff and get sold down the river with all this information and all this evidence that I have, and then get murdered in prison until I get the proper help that I need to do. I've never ran from the law, ever. But they know where I'm at, and they still haven't tried to do anything about it. But I'm not gonna turn myself into this shit once they told me it was all good, and then they told me, you know, you got to turn yourself in and get a new bond. I ain't doing that. I'm not stupid. I need help. I need federal authorities to step up and help me get rid of this shit, because I didn't do anything. And if you read the discovery, you know that's true. They think I'm a guy from Louisiana. They even said that. It's on record that they were trying to tell me I'm a guy from Meta Marie Parish, Louisiana, which is in New Orleans. I looked up. Is a damn criminal from hell with a record way back of all kinds of shit. And they based my bond upon that when I first went to Huron County. on top of the setup. I mean, it's all right there. The thing with the ankle monitor, they put the oldest model on me as the see what I'm gonna do type of thing to take it off. Excluded, like completely cut me out of the program on a medical discharge. That's impossible. You can't do that. I'm not an idiot. This is all a big ass setup.
Right, right. But for the Huron County, when you went to jail there, what was the original charge there? Was that for the cabin?
They got me on burglary, F3 burglary, which there was nobody in this damn house, which they directed me to go to. These hillbillies that live around the area, they had their marijuana growing fucking complete big operation. And then they waited like 88 days later to indict me on another charge of trespassing in a habitation, which is a F4 felony. And the lawyer, when I went to court on my hearing, my last hearing, but when I got the ankle monitor strapped on, he didn't know what to fucking think. He thought that I broke into somebody's house while they were home. That's what they was telling them. There was nobody in there. It's on the internet. This house is still for sale on the market, and it has been since 2015. It's in my discovery that I mailed to y'all. You can look it up yourself.
All right, yeah.
It's on my Facebook. I posted on my Facebook.
Yeah,
It's all.
We'll
Go ahead,
definitely start putting that information together to get up. Yeah, I know some people have missing points. I've actually been through the whole story with you, and I've seen a lot of the information. I've listened to all the calls, which I didn't even get a chance to put up all the calls. You had so many of them. The audio for it. You've done a really good job of documenting a lot of this stuff. So I'll try to get it all together and put it into a video format here as soon as I can. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of corruption going on, and a lot of people in government now are calling me and emailing me, and they're saying, "Look, I've got information for you." And
good. I need it, man, because I want my life back. I want to see my kids again that I can't see right now because everybody thinks I'm fucked up and nuts. They said you can't see your children until you get some help. That's what my ex-wife and everybody's telling me. My mom won't even talk to me. It's crazy, man. And the people I'm with now, they believe me because they rode with me through it. They know I'm not nuts. And they know you can talk to them even. You can interview them and they will tell you the same shit while I was in jail, what was going on, the shady shit what was going on. With the guy that was involved with the Amish people. He had a murder investigation in 2016 in the same condition with an Amish kid on a boat. With an Amish kid on a boat in 2016 that was autistic, and allegedly that kid drowned on Lake Erie while the guy was on methamphetamines or some shit is the story I got. And the whole damn town knows it, and he's never been charged with murder, and he's still walking around, still to this day. And everybody knows this shit. I didn't know that till I got out of jail. And that kid was going to die the same way I was about to die. And nothing's being done.
well, yeah, because again, it's a good old boy system. You throw in the illegal activities of sex trafficking. You're talking big amounts of time for people. So the people involved are gonna try to keep everything calm and quiet. Try to discredit anybody that would say anything against them. So it's something that goes along with that storyline. As sure as
that dude. Well, so I didn't mean to cut you off, but that guy murdered a 16-year-old child. I killed a child, and he's still skating around and ain't doing shit about it. The same way I was about to go. God knows if it was on the same boat. I mean, I gave you guys the VIN number of that boat. I gave you the guy's name that I found out. Once I called the B&B in Ohio about that boat, that lady thought I was in law enforcement and gave me all the information on everything on that boat. And then when I went to call back, they acted all weird and shit, and they didn't know what to think. They had no idea what to say. Then I started getting all these weird ass phone calls, and everybody started harassing me again because I don't know how the BMV's involved. I don't know how everything in Ohio, the government system's involved, but they are all in one big ass circle. And I cracked open a can of worms on that one because their stupidity and they was slipping. That's information they ain't allowed to give out. They gave it straight to me.
Yeah, they're not supposed to give that kind of information out.
That's how I sent y'all the model of the boat, who was registered, when it was registered, who the previous owner was, and all this other than that. I know where the guy lives and everything. That was the Amish guy that was in on the murder, trying to murder me.
Yeah, you
It's
sent
all
all of that. You sent all of that, and we're gonna put that together, and let the people, see what there is out there. I mean, like I said, you did a great job of documenting a lot of this stuff. Um, it's just it just needs to be put all in one, a nice clean timeline from start to finish, so that
but
way we can do it. So what I'm gonna do is when I get to go over all the notes, I'll make notes on what I want to clarify with you, and then I'll give you a call, and
okay.
we'll do another video like we did I did before, where I'll call you on speakerphone or something, and we'll just record it, and we'll go over from start to finish.
All
Uh,
right. I'm
and,
sorry. Hey, I'm sorry it took me so long to gather all this stuff, man, but everybody's been putting wrenches and everything, and it took me so long to gather everything up, get everything together, do it on a timely fashion because it seems like every time I try to do something, something else would happen. It's like it's every time with this stuff. But now that it's all out there, I got the opportunity to get it. It needs to be exposed because this type of corruption in this country cannot go on. Because, like I said, we're not lab rats. I'm not a lab rat. You know, my family helped found Jamestown, and my bloodline goes back to the founding of this country. I'm a member of the Sons of Confederate Veterans, when my grandfather's in the Civil War and stuff. I'm not gonna let my heritage and everything go down a toilet to be some satanic sacrifice on the whim of a CIA program, just because you try to expose something and then they want to just use you as a lab rat and flush your life down the toilet. I'm not going out like that, and my family's not going to go out like that.
hold on, Joe Black seems to have a couple of questions, and I'm not watching the chat good enough, so I didn't see him. I'm going to try to go back up. One commandment says need to see Rogue Nation's videos on this. I did a
I
couple of
tried to
videos.
here. What'll be easier is why don't we just have him type the two comments out again in the chat so we can
What's that?
find them very easily, and then I can bring them up because I tried to look too, and I must have passed over them very quickly. So why don't you write those two comments in the chat one more time, and I'll bring them up, Joe.
You see it?
No, I don't see anything yet.
There's about a 10-second delay between us and the view on the chat, so we'll give it a second or two more.
I ain't either. I'm still waiting. Why would you go on the boat after you saw them messages talking? They were going to kill you. Well, basically, Joe, I didn't know exactly that was going to go out like that. Um, I thought it was like glitches. I thought it was a little bit of my imagination, possibly, but it seemed like I was getting guided to that. I just went on to go on the boat to see how it played out because I made it this far. Hell, let's go. Let's finish this game because I didn't have nothing else to lose. Let's see how much further we can go. Because I done made it through 4 or 5 chases. I've done been shot at. I've done been hunted down like a damn dog. You know, what else do I got to lose? I wanted to see how it played out and to see what kind of more answers I could get out of them. But really what happened was I made them cry. I made them turn in from the tough guys that they thought they was to hitmen to crying pussies, basically. And then I let them go. And then that's when I noticed that the government, you know, had a wrench in it too, and then local PD and everything else. And I'm like, wait, this is insane. This can't be. This is Alice World type stuff. This ain't reality. You know, am I on the Truman Show? What the hell is this? You know, and if you thought the FBI was involved, why wouldn't you? I didn't really know the FBI was involved until after the fact that I got a hold of them and got the answers that I got, which was nothing. And if you listen to them tapes, it's absolutely nothing. And the advice that I got from Rogue Nation and everybody, which I was going to go to a field office like the guy in Washington said to go ahead and do, and just turn yourself in and give them everything you got. They said not to, just because, hell, you don't know who's involved, and somebody could have a cousin or a brother in a field office somewhere else. You don't know who it is. So I pumped my brakes on that one and used my head and went with my better judgment, and then I didn't go with that one. So I put that one on the back burner. And I'm not going to do that because seeing who the FBI is, who the CIA is, they know it all. They already know. So why the hell would I have to go to them anyway? Unless there's some members that ain't on this. Like there's always good apples and there's always bad apples. That's my theory on it all. But like after a year of going through all this crazy shit, it's like I'm immune to it now. It doesn't scare me anymore. It doesn't do anything. I'm trying to seek the truth for myself and everybody else. I'm trying to help everybody else out. I want to be the voice for all these people to expose it before, because this cannot go on like the MK Ultra. Everything, it just can't go on. I had that note with the FBI number on it. That's my FBI number. That is an FBI number when you go to prison. When I was 17, 18 years old, I screwed up. I kept my mouth shut about some stuff I shouldn't have been involved with. And then I went to prison and got out, and I kept my life straight for 20 plus years. That's what an FBI number is. They found when you go to prison, they give you an FBI number. Everybody knows that. And you don't have access to that number unless you're in law enforcement or unless you absolutely know what your FBI number is.
All right, Joe Black asked, if you thought the FBI was involved, why would you try to go to the FBI?
Yeah, we answered that one. I brought that one up.
I think I just answered this question a minute ago.
Yeah, you did.
Okay,
You did
okay.
I didn't keep pursuing this with the FBI. I let that go. I slid that one back. Once I figured out that there's a lot of people involved in it, I kind of just backed off that. Joe, that's what I did.
You know, the human trafficking situation is so rampant across the world. You know, again, but if it doesn't touch people's lives, they really don't understand the severity of the issue. You know, a lot of the children that go missing are involved in the sex trafficking trade. Um, it's just horrible, and you know, people
If
in
you
all
did your
walks, people in all walks of life are involved in it. There's big trade with Israeli and Russian sex trafficking over in that part of the world.
Exactly. But check this
And
out. Did you know I did my research and homework on this one? Ohio is the number one state, especially in Toledo, Mansfield, is the number one state in the union for human and sex trafficking. Do it via the Mexican cartels and Russians and Ukrainians, what have you. Which the Amish people are involved with them too. If you do your homework on that, I learned. But I did not have no idea Ohio was the number one in the United States for human and sex trafficking, and that goes for politicians, the crooked Hollywood people. It all funnels out of Ohio, and the second one's in Georgia. Atlanta, Georgia is another hub for it all. I had no idea.
yeah, well, you want to take a lot of the kids, I guess, from homes and people that really can't make a fuss about it. You don't want to take them from Beverly Hills or outside of DC where the politicians and everybody live, the lawyers and judges and lobbyists and stuff like that. So it would make sense that the human and sex trafficking victims would come from some of the states that would have perceivably more middle class, lower middle class uh, income, demographic. Because these people can't fight as much. They can't raise
Right.
enough of a battle cry, I guess you could say, because their funds are limited. And it's a pattern that's repeated throughout history, throughout the world. You know,
And Ohio's the perfect place for it because everything that I've seen in this state, it's the back door for all kinds of dark backwoods bullshit. Because they got the good old boy system, like you said. They got all these groups. They got Elks in every town. They got Masons. They got the Mooses, and they're all involved in all this crazy shit. I mean, my stepdad's a 32nd degree or 33-degree Mason, and he lives in Southern Ohio, and he's involved in that crazy ass shit. And like it's everywhere. And Ohio is one of the top gang stalking, organized stalking states in the union. It really is. You can look it up. It's statistical. I mean, it's right there in front of everybody's faces. And it's the hub for a lot of shady stuff. There's satanic cults here, and people are into witchcraft like you would not believe. It'd blow your mind.
no, it's maybe a children of the corn type of mentality.
Exactly. And they don't hide it real good because their arrogance lets them fall. You know what I mean? I don't see how people can be so arrogant if you're going to try to keep something quiet and then let stuff slip like they slip. They think they can't be caught or they won't be caught, and they're so arrogant that nobody can touch them, like they're untouchables. Well, I'm going to make it my life's mission, what's left of it, to expose these people and do what I got to do, what's right, so none of this shit can happen. Nobody else, and no more children or anybody else that's been through the same thing I've been through, because it's very destructive. People's committed suicide over this stuff. I almost committed suicide myself, but I talked myself out of it because I said I got to keep going. I got to get this out. I can't let all these people just destroy people and get away with this shit. It's too dark, and it just can't keep going on like this. There's got to be a stopping point for our system to reboot itself, to turn everything back the way it was, and completely reboot, because its evilness cannot keep continuing. That's not what our society and our principles of life is based upon. And they can't cloak themselves and hide behind churches and all these groups to cover all this shit up, because they're getting sloppy with it. And then when they slop my stuff together, that's ultra sloppy. So they deserve what they're gonna get. and I want to be that nail in the coffin that's gonna crack them open, man. I'm tired of this shit.
Sorry, I was muted there. I didn't know I'd muted myself. Which happens sometimes. I want to
Yeah.
thank you, David, for coming on and sharing your story with us. Do we got some more comments? I know some of this is going to take some clarification for some of our viewers, and Google user wants us to let you know that there's a victim of gang stalking in the chat, which Google user, I believe, says he's been a victim of gang stalking as well, in a pretty bad situation like yourself. Uh, and I have looked into gang stalking. It is a recognized activity used by groups, uh, different things. Michael Skidmore says, Captain, have you seen his video? And I believe I've seen one video, but it was quite a ways back when we first started talking. Uh, but Dazine wants to know if there's video covering what David just shared, and I did do one or two videos. I did a video, I think, where we were talking on the phone for an hour, and you shared your story. And then I did a video covering the audio clips that you sent me, where you go over your story again quite a few times. It's again very consistent. Um, oh, Michael Skidmore wants to know the original video on corruption, and I don't think I have. I don't think I've seen the National Geographic video that you did, David. Fawn says, "Why don't we go up and help him and be his legal representation?" Fawn, we don't offer legal advice here, and we definitely can't represent anybody in the court of law, and definitely not what we're trying to do.
Right.
But David has information here that he wants to share, and we have a platform in which he can share it on. And again, it's up to everybody to make up their own minds. One of the things we believe in here is to keep an open mind, get the information presented to you. If you want to, research further yourself, I'm sure, obviously David said he was in jail in Huron County. There's obviously documentation on that. Again, there's all kinds of documentation that he sent me that I'll be putting out here as soon as possible. As you guys know, I'm a pretty busy guy, so I try to get to it as soon as I can. No, Fawn, going over his information is not legal advice. Legal advice would be like if I would be to offer advice on like how the outcome of a case that he is involved in would turn out, or if I would be to apply law to his specific set of facts, that would be considered legal advice. Every person is free to transmit legal information, which is different from legal advice. But we're not even doing that here by going over his information. So I'm not really sure what you're talking about. Yeah, Snapface. He recorded all his phone calls that he made to different agencies, police departments, the FBI. Those are all up, and you can hear them. Just go back through the B.A.N.G videos. You'll see it's labeled "The Gang Stalking of David Morrow." Google user said they stopped stalking you, David, and David did go over that and say that because of the COVID, um, they have stopped their activity so far.
Yeah, it's like nonstop with these people, man. And you can tell by their voice, you can tell by what they've done. Like, nobody's tried to come at me and try to help me. You know what I'm saying? If it was anybody else, even if you breathe attempted murder out of your mouth, that something happened, you're going to have some investigators come and holler at you in this country. And this is the only time that I've spoke on it. I've even called poison control back last summer. And that they couldn't even give me nothing. Like, my calls were being redirected somewhere else. I doubt seriously I was even talking to the people that I thought I was talking to, because they cloned my phone then. Not the phone that I gave you, but another phone. Because I went through like 7 or 8 phones at the time. And I guarantee you I wasn't talking to the people that I thought I was talking to. Because this thing has got a web on it and a reach on it that goes beyond our rational thought. I've researched the hell out of this day and night. I made this an obsession of mine that I will not rest until this shit is taken care of. Not just with me, for everybody else. It has to stop. This is America. We don't do that shit here.
David, John wants to know, is your National Geographic video searchable or watchable on the internet? Do you know?
What's that?
The video for the National Geographic piece, is that searchable or watchable on the internet? Do you know, or what was the title or the air date of that?
Well, they took it off. The government took it off because, check this out. This is going to sound nuts. Ice Cube made a song about this National Geographic shit back in 2012, right after it came out, called Everything's Corrupt. They took it off YouTube. They took the National Geographic piece off there because it was saying how things really are, and it was talking about us, about filming and everything and all this and that, how we're exposing stuff. Now, that's bad if Ice Cube's making a song about the shit we're talking about, what's really going on in the world. And they took that off, took our stuff off. And it's on, like, if you want to go to it and check it out, it's on philfranktv.net. It'll pop up. You Google that, it'll say fun, factual, and this and that. And then you click on it, it'll show all his films, and go down to Animal Apocalypse, Paranatural, and click on that, and it'll show it. It's like 48 minutes long, I think. And they had this on Destination America at one time, a couple years ago. I don't know why they put it on cable, because a friend of mine said they seen it on there. See me on there. They say I seen dude on TV. And I'm like, well, I thought it wasn't on cable. So, you know what I'm saying? It's on National Geographic International. So it's been around the world a bit. And then if you want to go to see the original footage, go to my old YouTube channel, which is under New Waveable. It's NEWWAVEABLE, and it'll pull up. You'll see my face on there and everything. I can't access it anymore. And go down and look at the dead fish and the dead birds. I think it's under Animal Apocalypse on that, like the original footage that I filmed, which they got a hold of me on there. Actually, I got a hold of the producer back in March, I think it was. And I asked him about this stuff, and he's like, I don't do films anymore. And he was acting all weird and shit. I'm like, listen, dude. I said, my life has been a complete wreck since I was on there. I got threatened by a government agent for doing the shit. And now you don't want to look into it a little bit and this and that. And he acted like he was too busy to talk to me, but he ain't doing films anymore. He was Costco shopping. There you go. I believe that's one of them. You can also go to the original piece that I'm in is on his own channel, on his own website, because the government ain't gonna allow it to be on there. After they ripped Ice Cube's video down, they ripped ours down, and it was on YouTube at one time, and they took it off. because obviously it was a big deal. They
Now,
absolutely don't want us talking about it.
well, let's
There's
let's
more.
do
There's more to it.
let's do just that, David. Let's talk about it. What was the film about that you shot for the National Geographic
All right.
Week?
I was the first one that actually got footage after these government people left where I was fishing at, because I was a commercial fisherman in Arkansas for 8 years. I was the only one in the world that actually got the first bit of footage of this phenomenon. And I don't even know if the people in the documentary are still alive. But anyway, this started in Arkansas in 2011, January 2011, on New Year's night, New Year's Eve of 2010 into 2011. The next day, this was on Fox News and everything. This phenomenon happened all around the world, but it started in Arkansas. It started with red-winged blackbirds that fell out of the sky, littered the whole town of BB, Arkansas, and then 120 miles, 160 miles, I can't remember what it was, up the river where I lived at, all these fish just started washing up on shore like 30 miles deep from where I was at on down the river, and nobody covered it. Nobody knew nothing was going on. They covered it completely up, and I'm the only one that broke the silence on it. And then all this weird phenomenon started happening all over the planet with all these one species of animals that started dying off. I mean, it happened from Arkansas, and it started all over the world in a week. It was even on Fox News. You can look this up. And then after that, it just faded out. And if you ask people to this day about this stuff, there's only a few select people like, yeah, I heard about that weird stuff. It happened. Blah 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 blah. Some people don't even know what you're talking about. Like, okay, was you on the moon when that happened or what? But that legit really happened. And when I seen that shit with my own two eyes, it changed me. That's biblical stuff. That wasn't aliens. That wasn't a government test of any chemicals. They were trying to say all kinds of stuff in that film. And then when I spoke my mind on it, they silenced me. You know what I mean? They absolutely told me to keep the government out of their mouth, because the government knows some shit that we don't know about all that stuff. And now I'm paying the piper for it. But they waited a couple years to do it. I didn't. I started to think back, like, they ain't gonna do it right off the bat. That ain't how they work. They're gonna do it. It's gonna be a time consuming thing. They ain't gonna do it maybe not tomorrow. They ain't gonna do it next week. They ain't gonna do it next year. It might be 4 or 5 years later down the road. And that's what it was. They did that. They straight did that. Now, if you want to keep a secret, and you got, you know, you're the biggest spider, and you got a little bitty fly in your web, what are you gonna do? You ain't shit to them. But I figured that they're gonna have some fun with me. But from what I've seen, I'm the most fun they've ever had with somebody. It's so just satanic and evil and demonic that how it's gone about. Like, there's shit that I can't even explain that's happened. I don't even want to go into it right now. That'd have to be on another show. It's just wicked, man. Our political system, our government system, our local system, everything, it needs a reboot. It all needs to start over again. Something needs to give. We're human beings. We ain't designed for this. We don't deserve this. I don't deserve this. Other people don't deserve this. It's not tolerable in the society that we have, especially in this modern day and age.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. And like you said, and like anybody that cares to look will see. Again, gang stalking is an activity that's recognized by the government as being an activity
Oh yeah.
that's taking place out there. Again, by certain groups. Maybe there's Satanists. Maybe they're drug cartels. Maybe they're sex trafficking rings. Uh, but this kind of activity is going on out there. Um,
They're all in one big circle, man. It's one big wheel with a bunch of spokes on it, and
yeah,
it's revolving, and they're
well,
all connected. It's all
it's
connected.
it's just like Epstein, and all the big people that he knew, and all the sex trafficking and stuff that was supposed to go on there. And you've had Hollywood people talk about the sex trafficking and the sexual nature of the business even. And it's just it's happened throughout history. In Rome it happened, and stuff of that nature. So and you see now today with these predator poachers, and you see those guys getting the chief of police. You know what I mean? So you can be assured that if there's any kind of sex trafficking going on in that town of young minors, the chief's probably going to be in on it. So
Yeah.
so what kind of relief is a citizen going to get there like yourself who knows about it? Who are you going to go to? You go to one guy in the department and he tells the chief. You don't know the chief's involved in it. It was lucky that these guys exposed this chief, because if it had been law enforcement that exposed that chief, you would have never known about it.
I just don't understand why they spend all these tax-paying dollars to go out of their way and spend all that money. I guarantee you the operation they spent on me is in the millions. The fucking millions, man. Excuse my French, but in the millions. Where's this money coming from? Which account are they using to use this money, the slush funds? What are they using? And all these other people that I've talked to and been down the same road, they have spent millions of dollars on my piddly little ass. I'm talking in the millions. To continue a CIA program like they did MK Ultra, it's sick. They spent millions on that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
We
well, to
didn't
be
hear
honest,
about that till like 30, 40 years later, till it all came out.
right, right. And to be honest, they're not spending their money, so they don't care. They'll spend as much as whatever. The government just prints money whenever it needs it, or it has digits added onto its account through the bankers.
The banking cartels are definitely involved, if you ask my opinion, because that's who's bankrolling this whole shebang of bang. We got trillions of dollars that are missing from different government agencies, and they can't explain where all this money's going to. All these little operations and this and that. $50,000 for a government hammer and shit. I remember reading an article about that. I don't know, about 10, 12 years ago. If they're spending that kind of money and bankrolling operations and black ops on this soil, there ain't no telling what they're doing, man.
Yeah, again, it's hard for a lot of people, because a lot of people, we live in safe worlds. For most of us, we live in middle class America or whatever, and we don't see a lot of the evil underbelly. But humans are the you know craziest animal out there. I mean, there's just sick stuff that humans do to other humans, and again, not having any experience in that, it's hard to fathom, stuff like that. Um, so
Well,
when
after
when
witnessing it,
go ahead.
sorry about that. After witnessing it with my own two eyes, after a whole year of this stuff, plus, I know that they're capable of doing anything and everything they can do in their little experimentations to the CIA and these government operations that they do. That they don't care how much it costs. They don't care. They don't care who's expendable, who ain't. They just run amok, and the system has to be fixed. Absolutely has to be fixed. And if it takes this to do it, I'll do whatever it takes to open this up. Because I'm tired of everybody suffering. I'm tired of myself suffering. Because this ain't fair to me to ruin me completely. Because I didn't deserve this shit. And a lot of other people out there don't deserve this stuff, and it makes me angry for them to do that. Like, it infuriates me just to the fact of I hate to say it, but a civil war would help if it helped to level everything out. Not talking about getting rid of good and bad people, but if it took us to uprise against them to do that, I'm not talking about speaking out against our republic, because that's not what it is to a degree. I'm talking about to cleanse this nation of evilness, which they have created on their own. Not us. It ain't us as American people that are doing this. It's them. I mean, people can take that however they want to take it. I'm not taking it as a revolutionary type person or any kind of hate speech or anything like that. I'm just saying society needs to reboot itself, and people need to get back to what they need to, what's important, back to the basics of life. Because this is going to turn into some bad shit in the next 60, 70 years. Can you imagine what it's going to be like then? I don't want to live in that society. I don't want my kids growing up in that society.
Yeah, you're talking about 70-80% of your wage every year going to pay for taxes. Right now we're at about 60%, 50-60% of all of our wages every year going to pay for state, local, federal taxes, fines, fees, licenses, permits. People just don't realize, because it's not taken all at one time. It's taken incrementally. It's taken a couple of pennies here when I go to the store and buy a pack of gum. It's taking a couple of dollars here when I talk on the phone and I have the self-service user maintenance redundancy by Jose fee. You know, um, so there's just so many fees and fines and taxes when I'm at the gas pump, when I'm buying alcohol, when I'm doing this, when I'm doing that. Um, that people don't realize how much of their life is actually spent working to pay the government. And at the rate we're spending money, which exponential growth of debt only means exponential growth of borrowing. um, at the rate we're going, our kids, definitely our grandkids, are going to be paying 80% of the wages they work every year to the government
Right.
for the same thing. So at what point do people start saying, I'm not free anymore? Is it, it's obviously not 60% of our yearly wage, because we're giving that to them gladly. And everybody's telling me online what a great feeling it is to be free. You know what I mean? So they're obviously under the blanket of the government loves me theory. Um, so at what point does everybody just say, hey, wait a minute, I'm obviously not free anymore, or is it 75% of our yearly wages? Is it 80? Is it 85%? I mean, does it take to be 100% before we're like, hey, we're slaves, you know?
Here's another thing. I ask a lot of people this, and you think really hard about what I'm saying here. What actually do you own in actuality? That's what I ask people. What do you own? You don't own nothing besides the clothes on your back and the food that you buy and some toys here and there. It's the only shit that you really own. Everything else you have to pay taxes on. You don't actually own a house because the property is sitting on. You have to pay taxes on that shit. They will scoop that up underneath your feet and wipe you out and take it if you don't pay your taxes on that shit. The personal property tax, everything. So everybody's pipe dream about America is bullshit. You don't own nothing. And your social security and on that, on the end of it. Oh, I can't wait till I retire. Let me tell you something. That retirement shit went away in the 80s. That was the last bit of I'm going to retire, maybe in the early 90s. We will never see our retirement. It ain't going to happen. That's a pipe dream. That shit's a fantasy.
Yeah, a lot
It's
of people.
pumping in the 1%'s getting all that.
yeah, a lot of people are under the misconception that because they paid into Social Security, that no matter what,
Yeah.
they're guaranteed to get that money back. And an important case law for that is Nestor versus Fleming, where the government said that Americans have no property right interest in the money that they put into the Social Security fund, and getting it back would be, a privilege that the government can, renege on or not. Um, totally up to the government's goodwill if we get this money back. Um, so, I mean, a lot of these things, people need, I think, to look at, to understand, and see the reason why government gets paranoid when people like me and Rice Crispy and all these other auditors walk into the government place is because they've been lying about so much shit for so long that paranoia of being
And they believe
watched
it. They believe
and
their own
found
lies.
out,
You're right, brother. They believe their own
right,
lies.
it has seeped in so far that even the people that work for the government that have no clue that the government is lying and manipulating us, even they themselves are struck by this paranoia bug that the government has. And the government, again, the police are the enforcement arm of the government. So it's a love relationship there. And that's why whenever, you see the such uh, good response times to, when the government agency calls the police, two guys with a camera or one guy with a camera, compared to any response times that you could public record request from any agency. Anywhere that I have gone and had the police come to that location and contact me, you could public request the response times for, regular calls, and you will see that they respond post haste to the calls where we're trying to keep them accountable at. Uh, and the
Right.
reason, that's part of the reason you can see that it's like someone clenching their hand when they know that there's a fight coming. It's an instinctual reaction that the government has. Call the police. The police are right there, nine deep. They're gonna make sure that whatever happens, the government's interests are protected and not the citizens. It's always that way. It's always going to be that way.
They basically use them as a strong arm, and that's anywhere you guys go. I've seen that, and they squirm. They start squirming. Get that camera out of my face. Get that camera out of my face. I don't want to be filmed. What do you got to hide then? Why'd you take that job as a public official then? You're gonna
But
have a
see
camera
that, and
shoved
that's
up
it.
your ass every once in a while.
They don't even know what they've got to hide. They just realize that in their mind, socially, they understand that something is amiss. It's hard for people to put their finger on it because, again, reality, it's almost like taking acid. When you have bad core beliefs that don't allow you to take in information that goes against what you believe, it's like being on a bad acid trip.
Yeah.
Um, and you're definitely not able to see things clearly, and that's why sometimes when you hear the government has done something, you're like, well, how is that possible, or that's not constitutional, or whatever else. But it's because our perception is askew um, from what reality is.
Did you hear that?
um,
Clear?
it's a really interesting concept called belief glasses, where we filter information through our beliefs. So it's why that eyewitnesses are so unreliable, and why two people can see the exact same scene and get two different interpretations of that same scene, because we we look at everything through our own experiences. So an example of this would be if me and a gentleman that's racist are walking by an alley in, say, Chicago, and we see an old white lady on the ground and she's bloody, and there's a black gentleman standing above her with his arm outstretched towards her, me as the non-racist might see that gentleman as reaching down to help her, whereas the racist, no doubt, is going to see that man as reaching down to beat her. You know what I mean? We see
Right.
the exact same thing, but yet there's a different interpretation because of what we believe. So, and that's not to say that his interpretation is wrong or my interpretation is wrong at that moment, but just from the facts that are presented to us, we see totally two different things because we believe two totally different things. I believe that all people deserve a chance to prove themselves. The racist sees, certain people as, whatever he sees them as, and automatically assigns blame. Um, so, um, and this is stuff that the government doesn't teach us about how we think and how we interpret information that gets brought to our attention. And they don't relay this information to us because it does the government no good to have 300 million logical, critically thinking people sitting around at 7-Eleven working for $7 an hour, having all the time in the world to double think everything that the government does. It makes no sense to have citizens that like that. You want citizens that
And
don't
it wasn't
question.
it wasn't supposed to be designed for that either. We're not supposed to live in poverty. We're not supposed to have the class system that we're supposed to have. And you know what I'm saying? And it ain't even like that. The class system really didn't come about like really hard until like what the black, when everybody died off and then people free again. That wasn't even theirs. And then they rebased the class system. I mean, I don't know what it is now, but like people
Well, we
they
weren't
get all
supposed.
warm and fuzzy when they get a check.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we weren't
Go
supposed
ahead,
to have
Captain Moss.
the nobility system. But that's a discussion for another time. I actually got to get out of here. It's getting kind of late. We've been on for quite a while, and like I said, I told everybody I'll get all the information that you sent me. I'll try to get it in a cohesive package. Give you a call, and we'll get that up for the people to look at and decide for themselves. And like I said, we'll provide them with plenty of information. If they want to dig into the story deeper as well, I mean, they're
Please, I
more
wish
than
they'd
welcome
sink their
to.
teeth into it like a vampire.
Yeah,
Do me some justice, man,
right.
and do everybody else some justice.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's what we need. We need people, they got some extra time and they want to, either help out or even if it's a troll that wants to disprove you, spend some time on the issue. Tell us what you come up with. Open discourse is definitely encouraged. I know I was telling a person in the chat earlier that this is a private platform, and it is a private platform. But we definitely, try to keep it as open as possible. The only people that we try to keep down are people that are just, being idiotic in their suggestions and their thoughts to us. Um, regardless of what trolls might think of anybody's education level or anything like that, there's a certain, you know, uh, formula, I guess you could say, for civil discourse, and repeatedly saying that we're unemployed or this or that. It's just not what we would consider even worth our time in acknowledging, much less littering up our chat with. We'll definitely try to answer all the questions that we can. I can't see the chat right now. I'm outside smoking. Terrible habit, I know. But I can't even see the chat right now, so I don't know if there's any, questions coming through or not. But we always try to answer all the questions we can. and try to present the most information we can. And that's all we can do. That's all we can do, because obviously there's people at the top that control the flow of information, based on a need to know basis, based on a national security basis. I mean, hell, some of the guys in the group were denied record requests, due to security concerns. So, there's a lot of information that's controlled, that gets trickled down to us, the citizens, and they really do. The people that control the flow of information really control, life. Because without the proper information, we make wrong decisions, we make wrong choices, and we look at things incorrectly. So, all right, guys, I want to thank everybody for coming out. I appreciate, we all appreciate the support that you've given today. And we want to keep bringing stories like David's and other people's to light. And again, we get as much information as we can, or as much information as we can give out, and you guys can take it from there.
Okay.
I'm definitely one to never ask anybody to believe what I say right off the bat. I encourage people to look stuff up for themselves and research everything they can themselves. Only we can be assured that we won't lie to ourselves, as long as we understand how we think. So, all right, guys. Thanks, David. Thanks, Eyes on the State.
Hey, thank you for having me on.
Yes, thank you,
Pleasure.
everybody, for being here. Thank you.
All right, guys. We'll see you on Tuesday.
Okay, y'all have a good weekend.
Yes.
I appreciate you having me on the show.
Certainly. Good evening. Yes, Tuesday it will be.
All right, guys. Well, thanks again for coming out, and everybody have a great weekend. We'll see you Tuesday night.
Good evening, everybody.